Okay, before I really get into the meat and potatoes of, like, this game and everything, I do want to preface this with, like, this game is not finished. I'm going to be completely real with you. It is not finished. There's so many bugs and all sorts of lovely things like that. Um, but it's out. Kind of. It's kind of out. It's in a closed beta. This isn't a form of a game where I would sell it and like make people pay for it. It's not finished. And that's okay. It's good enough for me to be put in other people's hands right now. And I think that's what matters more. So yeah, as the beginning of this trailer said, this game has technically been in development for 4 years. I've been pretty much the sole developer, but I'll get more into that later. I guess I should just start with just everything, where the game came from, where it might go. It's been quite the journey to get to this point. So we're gonna go all the way back to, I guess, 2018. I was in high school, and I took this C++ class over the summer, and the C++ class was like, oh, your final project is you get to program a text adventure. And I was like, okay, this is great. This is super fun. I want it to be procedurally generated, kind of. And so I wrote up this crappy little text adventure, which just like gives you an option of like 4 directions to go in this dungeon, and it doesn't like keep track of the directions you've picked or anything, and it just gives you like random descriptor words for the dungeon, and like you fight monsters, and it's all completely luck based, and you upgrade your like strength, and just it's a cute little text adventure. For the first like actual game that I ever made, it's good, it's fine. But I never intended on actually releasing this text adventure. I made it over the summer, and that school year, I was required to make a portfolio website just for some class. It was like, okay, that's cool. And they were just like, yeah, just use some free online website making thing. It was all well and good. But, you know, being a sophomore in high school, my peers and I were valiantly fighting against our school's anti-block, or our school's blocking mechanisms that were built into the Wi-Fi and were built into our school laptops. And we were all fighting like tooth and nail against this blocked stuff, because it was starting to like actually cause a lot of problems with the actual school. Like, they blocked pretty much every YouTube video, and, you know, teachers used those. Anyway, I knew that they weren't going to be able to block my portfolio website because it was something that I made for school. And if they did, I'd be like, hey, this is something I made for school. Can you unblock it? And then they would have to. But that meant that I could put a video game embedded into my website that I made, with the excuse of, oh, this is a portfolio. I'm showing off something that I made, and then distribute my website to all of my peers and say, hey guys, I made a game. They're never going to block it. And I did that. And it wasn't like, you know, everybody in the school was sitting down and playing this goofy text adventure. But like, you know, there were a handful of people that were really into it and gave lots of suggestions and feedback. And, you know, I had been taking a class on how to use Game Maker Studio 2. And I told these people, I made a promise to them that one day I'm going to make a sequel to this text adventure. And it's going to have graphics, it's going to be tile based, it's going to be turn based, it's going to be really awesome, and it's going to be playable in browser. Well, that did eventually happen. 5 years later, In fact, almost exactly 5 years later. So the original release of that first text adventure was October 22nd, 2018. That's when I put it on my website. That was the first release that I did. It has been a little over 5 years since then. I did consider releasing it on the dot 5 years after, but I think Halloween is more fitting because the name of the game is literally like Dungeonous Spooky Bois Deluxe. Like, come on, why not Halloween? Yeah, and this game is my fulfilling the promise to those people. And I did start development on it pretty much as soon as I finished working on that text adventure. So development started in the summer of 2019. I was very new to Game Maker Studio and having like decent code. I hesitate to say that like the code in the code in the game is good now, because it's definitely not. But I didn't know how to do decent code, and yeah, I started working on it. It had a chiptune soundtrack that I wrote, and it was all right. But that version of the game, I actually lost it. I didn't have it backed up anywhere, and I was moving computers. I was moving from one computer to another, and I tried to export the project file, but the version of Game Maker that I was using on my old computer was pretty out of date. And so when I installed a new version on my new computer and then tried to boot up the old file, everything was corrupted. And that sucked bad. So, I kind of didn't do anything. I was like, well, that's it. It's never getting made. Until, it's 2020 now, and the pandemic hits. And it's like, uh-oh. I need to do something or I'm going to lose my mind. And so that something was, hey, I could probably start programming DSB from the ground up and have code that makes sense and have better graphics and a better soundtrack and just kind of make everything better. And so I started doing that. And those of you that were subscribed to this channel, there might be 100 of you or something, barely anything. Those of you that were subscribed to the channel at the time know that I was uploading devlogs with like my face in it and stuff, which was crazy. Those devlogs have since been taken down because I don't want my face on the internet anymore. I think that's a bad idea. But yeah, I was making devlogs. I worked on it for like 6-7 weeks straight, and I kind of got burnt out. I got tired of it. And that started a whole shebang where the way that I work on this game is about every like 4 to 6 months, I'll remember it exists and I'll be like, oh dude, right, Dungeonous Spooky Bois Deluxe. And then I'll work on it for like a couple weeks nonstop, and that's like the only thing I do in my free time. And then I get burnt out, and then I don't touch it again for another 4 to 6 months. And that has been going on since 2020. Been working on the same file and making some huge changes. Like originally, the game was gonna go on forever, and every floor was gonna be a randomized area or a randomized zone. But that's since been updated to having a set ending, and then the zones are in a specific order. And just there's been so many changes to like the overall idea of the game, but not to that core gameplay loop of tile turn-based gameplay, which was based on it's like the original Rogue and NetHack, which are true roguelikes, I think is what people call it nowadays. And we're gonna get a little personal now, because I love rambling. So when I was a little kid, my dad would always play NetHack when he was just kind of chilling out, and I would always watch him play NetHack, and I was like, Dad would explain everything that he was doing, and I would watch like enamored by this game. And eventually, I started playing it, and I really loved this game. And it was always kind of a goal of mine, like one day to make a true roguelike based on it. Some of the internal textures in this game are direct references to NetHack, like the player sprite was originally just an @ symbol before the actual player sprite got put into place. All of the sprites that represent like random objects or random monsters are all letters and ASCII characters that were used by NetHack. It's a game that I hold very dear to my heart. I've never beaten it because I'm really bad at it, but it's a game that has like literally been around longer than I've been alive, and I've been playing it for about that long. So yeah, that's one of the major inspirations. Crypt of the Necrodancer is also kind of a lesser inspiration. I got the idea of having monsters display when they're about to take their turn from Crypt of the Necrodancer, because that's just like, good game design. Those are really the two biggest inspirations, are Crypt of the Necrodancer and NetHack. And I guess there's a little bit of The Binding of Isaac sprinkled in there with the charm system. So yeah, it's good enough to be out to the public now. And I just wanted to give some huge thank yous to people that have directly impacted the development of this. First of all, I've had a lot of my real life friends playtest this, and some other people playtest it. And I want to give a huge thank you to the people that have playtested it and found bugs that I've fixed and bugs that I have not fixed. And I want to say thank you to the people that playtested and then designed rooms for me. I want to say thank you to my close friend, the Craft Mechanic on YouTube, who has, when we were doing the first closed beta back when I was making devlogs, he used his computer as a Windows computer, because that's what it was, and exported the game for Windows devices. And then he's also been there throughout pretty much the entire development of this game, and is just a great guy. I want to give a thank you to my friend Brendan, who is the only person who has contributed artwork for this game, period. He drew up the sprite for the player back in 2019, and it's the only surviving sprite from that first build of the game that I lost to corruption. The only surviving sprite, because it was the only one that was given to me through email and not made directly on my computer. And then it's been tweaked and changed ever since then. And of course, I want to give a huge thank you to my dad, who has been just the most supportive about me making this game, and has been my most consistent playtester, and has been giving me invaluable feedback from day one. So, thanks, Dad. This wouldn't have been possible without you. Anyway, that's the game. Go play it. Will I finish it? Maybe. I am planning on having some consistent updates after this video goes out. Just adding various content, obviously fixing all of the glaring issues in the game. Maybe not all of them, but as many as I can comfortably. So yeah, thanks for sticking around, and have a good one.